Hello friends, this video on how do organisms reproduce part 16 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So we will now talk about sexual reproduction in human beings. So human beings, we understand them better because we are talking about themselves. So we know our body structure, we know the changes that happen in us. So there are certain things we are very much familiar with. So it will be interesting as well as it will be easier for us to understand the process of reproduction in human beings. So let us talk about the sexual reproduction in human beings. So here sexual reproduction is the only mode of reproduction. Unlike plants where we saw that they reproduce both sexually as well as asexually. But in case of human beings, the only mode of reproduction is sexual mode. Right? So therefore in human beings, we distinctly talk about the two different sexes, that is male and females are completely different. They have got different types of reproductive organs so that they can generate the female germ cell and the male germ cell separately. So we will talk about the male reproductive organs and the female reproductive organs separately and how do each of them produce the sex cells. We will also talk about that. Now before that, one interesting thing to know is that the reproductive organs in both male and female, they do not start functioning from the time a human being takes birth. They start functioning only after a certain age. For example, a small baby is born. So his body is made up of all types of cells, but the cells which are specialized for reproduction, they will become active or they will start working only after a certain age. And that age is known as puberty or adolescence. So we will first discuss about puberty and adolescence, and then we will see that how the different reproductive organs work together to make sexual reproduction. So let us have a look at puberty. What do we mean by puberty? When does it come and how do we know that a person has arrived in this age? Now, let us imagine a kid, or let us talk about any one of us. You would have seen that when a baby is born, it is very small. Now, gradually it starts growing. So, you can see the changes in a baby very evidently, right? A baby who is 6 months old, he will not be able to sit on his own, he will not be able to stand on his own. But if you observe the same baby after 6 months, when it is 1 year old, you will see that it will be able to sit, it will also be able to stand. Again, after another 6 months, it will be able to walk, its height will also increase, its weight will increase. So you can feel the change in a baby very evidently because the growth is maximum in that age. So when you are a kid, your height increases, your weight increases, so your energy in your body also increases. So all these changes keep taking place inside our body. Now, you would have observed that at a certain age, when you reach a certain age, which we generally call as teenage, you observe some other kind of changes in your body as well. For example, in case of guys, you would have seen that your voice changes. The way you were speaking when you were a kid is different than the way you speak now. So your voice becomes a little more rough and a little more hoarse. Similarly, you would also see that there are some other kind of changes in your body physically as well. For example, you would observe growth of hair in your underarms. You will observe growth of hair on your face, which will gradually turn into beards and mustaches. Right? So these are some of the changes which you would have not observed in the first 10 or 12 or 13 years of your life. Those days you were just growing, your height was increasing, your weight was increasing, so those were the changes. But now you are observing some different types of changes. So when these kind of changes take place, you say that the guy is becoming young or he is entering youth. We call that age as adolescence. That means something which is between the childhood and adult. So that is called adolescence. That means the child is going to be an adult now. So that is the teenage basically. So similar changes are observed. I mean, not similar, but these kind of changes are also observed in case of girls also. But the changes are little different. So now, why is it that Why do we say that these kind of changes are related to the reproductive system? Why are we saying that? Now, in the beginning of the lesson, I told you that reproduction is something which is not necessary for us to be alive, right? So when a baby is born, reproduction is not a priority in his life, because even if reproduction doesn't happen, he is alive, he is healthy, his life is going smooth, right? So reproduction is not the priority. What is priority? The growth of the baby is priority. So all the energy that his body receives through the food which the baby eats is spent up in the growth of the body. Now when the body has grown considerably for the first 13 or 14 years, now the body says that okay fine, I am grown enough, I am strong enough to handle things now. So now the second priority comes of reproduction, because we also know the importance of reproduction. If there is no reproduction, there will be no species left on earth. So reproduction is also necessary. So then some of the energy starts getting spent on functioning of the reproductive organs, and that is called puberty. When you observe all these changes, let us look at an example. Suppose when you were a child, study was your priority. When you were going to school, study was your priority. So you were spending all your energy in studying so that you can score well, so that you can clear all your competitive exams. So study was your priority. But once you clear your competitive exams, you get through a good college, then study is not your only priority. Now you start using some of your time in improving your looks, in having some fun activities, for your recreation, for roaming around, right? So that means with the passage of time, the priority changed. So similarly, in case of human body, when a baby is born, the priority is growth. Therefore, all the energy is spent in the growth of the body. But at a certain age, there is considerable growth in the human body. After that, the energy is spent in making the reproductive organs active, and that age is known as puberty. So now we will see what are those changes which actually happen at this age. So period during which the rate of general body growth slows down and reproductive tissues starts maturing. So at this stage, the general growth becomes the second priority and reproductive tissues becomes the first priority. So that age is known as puberty. So you would have seen the difference for yourself when a small girl child, the appearance of the small girl child and the appearance of a teenage girl. Don't you see any difference in their body structure? There are enlargement of breasts. The body structure also becomes little different. So these are the changes which happen at a certain age, right? So when all these changes happen, we see that the reproductive tissues have started maturing. And this age is known as adolescence. That is, the person is going to become an adult. So for a human male, he reaches puberty at the age of 13 to 14 years. Now it varies from person to person. Some people reaches puberty by around 13, some reaches around 16. So it varies, but it is somewhere in this range. Whereas a female reaches the same around 11 to 13 years. So a human female reaches this adolescence a little earlier than the human male, right? So when you reach puberty, your body actually starts telling that now the reproductive tissues have started functioning. So now the body is capable of reproduction. So as long as a human being doesn't reach adolescence, he is not capable of reproduction. He cannot give birth to a new organism, right? So this is known as puberty. So it happens both in male and female. And just by looking at the appearance of a person, you can say whether he has reached puberty or not. There are not only differences in physical appearance, there are also some differences in the internal organs as well. So let us look at some of the changes which are observed during puberty in a male as well as in a female. So let us look at some of the changes which are observed during this age. In case of males, you would have seen that there are thick hair growth under armpits and the genital area at this age. Facial hair which later develop into, initially there will be some few hairs appearing on face, and then gradually they will form thick and denser and they will form the shape of a mustache or beard. Change in voice, as I said, the voice becomes a little more heavy and hoarse. occasional penis enlargement. So the penis gets enlarged at certain times. Similarly, in case of females, some noticeable changes are the start of menstruation cycle. Now, what is this menstruation cycle that we will discuss in detail in one of the later slides? But menstruation cycle is nothing but the periods which happen periodically. That means every month the female undergoes a period where there is bleeding from her vagina, and it lasts for some 3 to 5 days. So this menstruation, which is often termed as mens or periods by many females, so this starts at this age where every month they have a bleeding of 3 to 5 days. The breast enlargement, which is again another noticeable change. Hair growth under armpits and genital area. So these are some of the changes which are observed in a male and a female at adolescence. Now, when these changes start taking place, the body actually tells that it is now ready for reproduction. Right? So now we will see what actually happens in sexual reproduction. How are the male sex cells and the female sex cells produced inside the human body? Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.